Hey guys, so today I would like to do a little bit of a special video because I was thinking about making a macro guide. The thing is that it's very, very tough to explain in just 1 minute because you need to know a little bit of concepts and so on. So I decided to make a YouTube video for this, and maybe I'm going to break this down into some TikTok clips. So the idea is basically mid lane macro because most of you played really, really well during the mid lane phase. But as soon as it gets to the macro, they don't really know what to do. So my task here is to explain you a little bit a game plan or strategy, which you can stick to and which, well, in 90% of the cases, be correct. Of course, you have to adapt to the situation. If your enemy is much stronger, you can't play it like that. If the enemy is much weaker, you have much more freedoms. But in general, this is the situation, or it's a game plan which works most of the time. So let's start with some timestamps first, because there are some time marks you really need to memorize because they will guide you through your game. What to do when. For example, the laning phase is all about getting as strong as possible yourself. So, for example, during the laning phase, which is until minute 14, I will explain briefly why that is. Until minute 14, you want to be as fat as possible. So this means if your jungler is doing some shenanigans in the enemy jungle without having vision, with your top lane and your bot lane being out of lane, for example, and you being pushed in, you will not ruin your game and lose a wave, and you will just mute your jungler and let him feed. If he decides to do that, when all the waves are all the lanes are back or not in position to support his invade, then you will let him troll. And that's fine. So until minute 14, we only care, actually until level 7, we only care for ourselves. Nothing else matters. Once we have our ultimate is when we want to look for plays. So there we can maybe abandon the mid lane wave to go to help our jungler. But me personally, I played very safe. And until minute 14, I play very, very selfishly. So minute 14 is the moment tower plates fall off. So minute 14, there are not tower plates which protect mid lane tower. There's also less gold to gain, right, when staying mid lane. So what we do at minute 14 is we swap with our bot lane. So here in this example, as you can see, I just died to the enemy Lux, and my bot lane roamed to mid lane to kill the Lux in return and to take over the wave because they had to push the turret, which is great. So I have a winning bot lane. It's minute 11:41. So we are still too early. But for me, there's no reason coming out of base to go to mid lane because my bot lane is already there. They took the wave. There's nothing for me to get. For them, there are still 5 tower plates, which they will get, which is great. But in general, starting from minute 14, you want your bot lane to defend mid lane. Why? So first of all, because it's the shortest lane and bot lane is just a very, very difficult lane. As an ADC, look at our bot lane, for example, they're really fat. They're really good in the game. 6-1 Jhin, 2-1 Vel'Koz. The problem is they're super immobile. So if they get hooked by Fresh on a super long lane, like bot lane, and then there's the Echo coming in, there's no chance they survive this. The Echo is also quite fat, he's strong. A Cassandra TP with double fall, may I just realize? Cassandra TP could come in, and then the bot lane is totally screwed. And they would throw away their lead and their gold bounties. So in order to prevent that, we put them in mid lane. Also because they are 2, it's much easier for them to defend the mid lane tower. The mid lane tower is the single most important target, the single most important objective in the entire game. Why? Because mid lane tower opens the whole jungle. So without mid lane tower, the jungler can only come through these 2 entrances to invade you, right? This and this here and that here. As soon as mid lane jungle is gone, and mid lane tower is gone, the jungler can come from all the ways, from all the sides. So it opens up your jungler tremendously. It opens up the map for shorter roams. For example, the enemy Cassante or the enemy Lux can roam from here to here and be in the back of our top laner instead of having to walk all the way here, right? So it opens up the map tremendously. Midlane tower is the most important tower. Not objective, of course, Baron goes over midlane tower or fourth Drake or Elder Drake. But in general, tower-wise, mid lane tier 1 is the most important. Then later, tier 2 doesn't matter at all. Mid lane tier 2 doesn't change a thing because as tier 1 is gone, you can already enter the jungle here. Tier 2 doesn't really prevent that. So tier 2 is totally useless. This is the contrary for the outside. So tier 1 on the sides is not as important as tier 2. Tier 2 opens much more because tier 1 doesn't really protect the entrance to the jungles here, but tier 2 does. So tier 2 is more important. So the priority of mid lane of towers would be mid lane tier 1, sides tier 1, sides tier 2, and then mid lane tier 1. And then inhibitor turrets, more or less the same. Mid lane inhibitor being the worst, to be honest. So the sides are more important. Why is that again? Because super minions will push the long lanes, forcing enemies to go and react. And then you can do a play on the other side of the map. With mid lane, it's not that easy because the roaming times are very short. So if our super minions push mid lane, it's quite easily defended and you can still be in time to defend a play. While if Cassante has to defend mid lane super minions at tier 2, he will never be in time except for a TP and then maybe lose a tower in return. So this is why it's much stronger. Okay, so these are the towers. So at minute 14, we want our bot lane to defend them because they're better at defending. So we have a support and the ADC, which can safely farm. They are 2 people to defend bot lane, so that's easy. For us as Ahri, side laning is amazing. We have other champions, for example, if I play Lissandra, if I play Syndra, I usually don't side lane. The only thing I do is collect waves. So if you see the map here, let's cut down the side lane. So let's take bot lane. Let's cut it down in 3 different zones. Okay, so until the tier 1 tower, which usually at this point is not there anymore, it's the collect zone. Then where bot lane is right now is the neutral zone. And then the zone up to the enemy base is the push zone. So as Ahri, we can use all 3. So let's say the enemy bot lane push the wave, we come and collect the minions here. This is why it's called a collect zone. We are at no risk. Of course, if the enemy is totally invading our jungle and is super strong and really far ahead, we might risk our lives there. But in general, we do not risk much by just collecting the wave here close to our base. Then comes the neutral stance where we have to see and to be in sync with our team. Okay, so we only enter the neutral stance. As Ahri, it's a bit easier because we have our ultimate and we only go side lane with our ultimate. Without our ultimate, it doesn't make sense to push or to be in a neutral stance. And we can escape tricky situations. So the neutral stance is when we see, okay, look, here, for example, this would be a situation where I would place myself in the neutral stance. Because I see my bot lane is pushing mid. My jungler is also quite far ahead taking objective. So I myself can also be in a quite more forward up situation because if something happens here, if I die and I lose tower, at least my bot lane is going to get mid tower and my jungler is going to take Herald. So it's fine. We're going to trade something in return. I'm not going to be like dying in vain. Generally, this would be a moment where I consider myself weak side. So what is weak side? What is strong side? Strong side is the map side. So let's divide the mini map in 2 parts. Strong side is the side of the map where things happen. Okay, at the moment, this is top side. Why? Because top side, well, my team is top side, clearly. Sure, my top laner died, but that doesn't matter at this moment. So what I'm doing is playing safely. Strong side is top side because our jungler and both our bot lane are pushing mid and playing around the top side of the map. So if something happens here, let's say Yorick or let's say Kayn starts fighting here with the enemy jungler, with the enemy Echo, then our bot lane can move, our Yorick who in theory would be here, would move. So it would be really, really good and easy for our team to do plays here because they have the numbers advantage. Me, on the other hand, I don't know, first of all, okay, Lux is dead, but I don't know where's Echo. Echo could be here, Echo could be here. I don't know where, no, I know everything else. So I have to play it safe. Could be that Echo is preparing a dive here on bot lane, right? But even if he isn't, I'm still weak side. Weak side means my team is not with me. This means I have to play it safe. That's all I have to do because at the moment we are getting objectives, right? I'm getting a plate turret plate in the mid lane. We're getting a herald, so it's great. I don't need to do anything fancy. I just need to collect the wave, defend the tower. And against the losing bot lane, 1-3 Jinx and 0-4 Thresh, this should be for 2-1 Ahri, really easy. So this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm going mid lane to bot lane to defend this. Later, if I see the bot lane is leaving, for example, they roam mid lane, then I can further push into the pushing zone. Okay, so you remember we had the collecting zone, we have the neutral zone, we have the pushing zone. This I will only do if I see where the enemies are or I can suspect them to be somewhere. So at this point, they will not let mid lane turret fall for nothing. So Jinx and Thresh are going to push bot and they will probably roam mid because losing mid lane turret is much worse than for us losing tier 1. And we already got their tier 1, so super easy. Exactly. So this puts me in the situation of a side lane. Me as Ahri, I'm going to side lane. So what am I going to do? I'm going to collect the wave. So let's see that. Going to collect the wave here. As suspected, they are all going to collapse mid lane because they don't want to leave the tower. My jungler died here. So right now we are in an awkward situation. But compared to before, the situation changed. Now everyone is on mid lane and on top lane from the enemy. This makes basically, for me, sure, I'm still weak side, but so is the enemy. So whoever comes here will face me in a 1v1, and so far, I don't see anyone. So Echo, we know, just killed Kane topside. Jinx and Lux just killed our support mid lane. Of course, they feed as always, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what we do. So I know there's no one else, so I'm not going to group. It's already a lost fight. So what I'm gonna do is just keep pushing the wave. And this is exactly what we do. So we go into the pushing zone. I don't even need wards because I see everyone on the map, right? So we are going to lose mid lane turrets or plates of mid lane turrets, which is fine, but I'm getting fed myself. This is even before minute 14. Now I have the choice. As Ahri, this is very important. We are in the pushing zone and this is exactly our job. Our job is to crash a minion wave into the enemy tower. Because the right thing to do for anyone on the enemy team is to go and collect this wave. So either Echo has to go or who was there? They have or Jinx. Echo or Jinx have to go and pick up the wave. This is already a win in my books. Okay, because now someone of them is here. And now my team is coming back in 9 seconds, 3 seconds. Yes, okay, maybe not so fast, but we are going to create at least an even situation mid lane because Kane is coming, I am coming. I'm fed. I know I can just one-shot the Lux here, which is clearly overstaying for the platings. Echo is here, so Jinx came to pick up the wave, which is perfectly fine. Now is Ahri. I make sure that I'm not being seen. You know, I approach with a red trinket, and now I get an easy kill mid lane. Don't even need to hit anything. Easy kill. Okay, so this puts us in a comfortable situation. I just got a kill. I got farm. Mid lane is prevented from falling, even if Echo was there. Win-win situation. So all this, I want you to play as selfish as possible. Okay, so during the laning phase, which is basically over with minute 14, because in minute 14, most of the turrets fall. So let's call it early laning phase, okay? So it's not really early, but you get my point. Until minute 14, most of the turrets will fall or start falling. So now it's about grouping and objectives and fancy macro. This is the moment fancy macro matters. Because right now also, as you can see, as soon as someone dies, they have 30 seconds of death timer, which is quite a long time, but to be honest, it is not incredibly long. You can't do much in 30 seconds. So until we clean up this fight, we can barely take Drake before Lux is going to be back. Okay? So it doesn't matter too much if right now your teammates feed. So I want you to get as fat as possible. This is your job. So let's skip ahead. As you can see also, I get the kill here. And while my team keeps chasing the echo, I just don't mind it because it's time the Thresh is dead, it's time the Lux is still dead. I'm trying to get as most objectives as possible. So now, focusing on mid lane. There's another macro concept which I would like to talk about, which is called the empty lane rule. So whenever you don't know where to go, you go to the empty lane. So let's say right now you are, let's say Jhin, okay? You see your jungler and your support on bot lane. You see your mid laner on mid, and you see your top backporting on top. Where are you going to go? You are going to go top lane. Because even though your wave is totally pushed in, it's the only empty lane. So you know that in the future you will receive farm. There are a lot of exceptions to this rule. Right? For example, if we are playing around Drake, which is now more important, because top lane turret will fall anyways, you will path bot lane to the Drake. But in general, let's say it's a situation where there's no Drakes up, where your team is like properly spread around the map, there's no place really visible, then you will go to the empty lane. As a mid laner, okay? I'm not talking about ADC. Like I used ADC as an example, but I'm always talking about Ahri point of view because I don't feel that I have enough knowledge to talk about other roles and what the proper macro would be. But as a mid laner, this would be the proper macro. Empty lane. So I get some platings, I get some waves here. Okay, so this is all minute 14. We do all the fancy stuff, okay? Wave pushing, roaming. This is exactly what we do. So we push waves. We look, is there a roam angle like before with the Lux? We go and hit, or we keep pushing. If not, again, rinse and repeat. I push, I look for roam angle. I don't see anyone on the map. So I only see Lux and Cassandra. So this could be that the enemy Echo is ambushing here together with the Thresh. So I'm quickly placing a ward. And I keep pushing the wave. But as you can see, I'm pretty sure I will not keep pushing it for now. Yes, I clear the ward first until I see the vision my minion gives me. Okay, so far there are even less people mid lane. So this is why I decide to path mid lane. Like, I don't know where anyone is. They could just ambush me here, 1v3. So I'm just I did my job. I pushed the wave into the tower. Remember, Ahri mains, mid lane players with a mobile champs. Do not do this on Lissandra, do not do this on Syndra. But do this on champions with mobility, Katrina, Akali, Talon, Ahri. You push the wave, you force someone to react, and then you go for the roam. So even if no one reacts to it, they just lose a whole wave or even 2 waves to the turret. We damage the turret for free. Perfect. And we make sure our team doesn't feed mid lane. Okay, so all this, listen, rinse, and repeat until now comes the important part. This is another timer you absolutely need to focus. Okay, here the game is going to be over. But now comes the most important stuff. Is minute 25 is the moment where we could start keep doing our fancy plays. I can still go side lane. I can still push I can still put waves. Push waves. Sorry, I try again. I can still go side lane. I can still push waves. I can do my fancy roams. and played perfectly, but I already know my Yorick is going to feed. My Vel'Koz is going to feed. He's face checking something. My ADC, my fat ADC is just going to die 1v3 mid lane. Yes, and this is how you lose the games. Because starting from minute 24, 25, the death timers are so long that death is basically GG. Because the death timers are so long that one single pick on any lane usually leads to another pick some 20 seconds later, some 30 seconds later, somewhere else. Because suddenly one team is an advantage, the other isn't. And this snowballs into like a complete ace pretty often. Not always, but even if there's only one or two behind, they cannot do anything if you get Drake, Baron, or push the inhibitor. You know that feeling? Your team died, you're the only one fed, but you can't 1v4 at the inhibitor. It's impossible. So at this moment, the correct macro would still be to say what I taught you right before. The correct macro in Master and in Challenger would be, okay, we keep pushing waves, we look for roam angles because your team knows what they're doing. The enemy Jhin will not just put a random ward at their red at minute 24, even if red is not up. They will not do this. The enemy support will not face check a brush on side lane right now. They will not. They know what they have to do. They know where they are. The enemy support, your team knows they have to prepare vision for the Baron. They have to push the side lanes to prepare for the Baron and then group up. Your team doesn't. So does mine here. As you can see, they clearly don't know. So what I'm doing, starting from minute 24, 25, is just group with them. You are fed as possible. Okay, so we made sure I'm super fed. I'm 9-1. I have 200 farm. That's great. I'm super fed. I have 22 Mijay stacks. It's amazing. I'm in an amazing situation to carry, except for if I'm not there. So this, the only thing which can stop me from winning this game is my team dying without me. So what I'm doing, starting from minute 24, 25, is just wherever my team goes, you see here's something happening, I just group up with them. We get a fight, we get a kill. And Lux is alone. Lux is like, oh my god, guys, I was just defending bot lane. Why can't you play safe? Yes, that's true, Lux. Why can't they? Because they can't. Because they suck. They just start and engage here. So we see it is also super risky what we do. The enemy bot lane knows that we're here. They see it. They see an Ahri and Vel'Koz with double buff are coming. They react way too late. We even take the short way. I always take the long way. I take the long way. Vel'Koz takes the greedy way, which is the right play in that moment, but I always played safe. And now they start fighting this. 4, Yorick is there, V3. Deluxe is there. And they get, of course, like destroyed. Even if Cassandra TP's in now, the Jinx is already dead. There's nothing to do. The fight is already lost. We have a fat ADC, they don't have any. Cassandra tries to make some cute little play here, but dies, and it's GG. It's GG. And Lux will, of course, be pinging, what the fuck, guys? Why did you just die? I was just defending bot lane, or I was just buying. Yes, Lux was maybe doing the right thing, the right macro thing, but starting from minute 24, 25, it doesn't matter anymore. Because as you can see, the death timers are so long, mostly. Jinx is very, very underleveled, so this is why she has only 32 death timer. But look at me. I'm level 16. I'm even over our top laner who just spent the whole time split pushing and getting solo XP. It's level 15, okay? This is the usual level you have at this point, level 15 or level 16. Our bot is quite underleveled because they don't know how to play the macro. Our jungler is okay-ish, but also quite underleveled. But this is usually the death timers you have. It's like 45 seconds. And at this point, it's over. They can't do anything about it anymore because, yeah, everyone's dead. And now comes the situation I was talking about. We are so fat. Yeah, maybe the Echo is fat too, which he is. The Lux is fine, but they can't defend it. What can they do? They can't do anything. And that's GG. At some point, I think they just surrender because we get another. Yes, exactly. It's just so crushing. Top lane is pushing in. Side lane is pushing in. I mean, it wouldn't be over yet, but the enemy team decided to surrender. So this is my quick video on macro, on mid lane, just to explain you a little bit how everything works. And yeah, I hope you liked it. And thank you so much.